Ready?
And go.
3, 2, 1. She's done fluffing her hair. Hey, everyone, it's Simone and Shaun here for an inaugural episode of our show on the YouTube. We've moved.
We've moved.
We didn't have to lift a finger.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. Really excited.
You look like $1 million bill today.
I love you. So do you. Always.
I'm so excited about today, and our guest today, she's one of the most legendary divas of the dance floor, grande dame of clubland and pop music. She's adored by fans around the world, and her voice is instantly recognizable because her songs, like yours, Simone, have become the soundtracks of our lifetimes. She is the one and only Ultra Naté. She's back with a new album, came out in August called Ultra, and her career spanned 30 years, which is nothing to sneeze at all.
Right.
So should we bring her in?
Yes.
Got anything else you want to say about her?
She's awesome.
She's awesome. Let's find out why. Ta-da! There she is.
And looking gorgeous as ever.
Hi, girl. Hi, girl.
You both look like $1 million bills.
We got to do it.
Exactly.
We got to do it.
We have to. You got to keep it going.
As we should.
So, you and I were talking before we started to record this, and I want to congratulate you on your album. Ultra came out in August. It's called simply Ultra, which sounds fitting. This is your 10th studio album. You started your career 30 years ago, which doesn't seem possible. When you look at the numbers, when you look at your 10th studio album, 30 years in the music business, which is one of the toughest businesses there are out there, what does that mean to you?
Wow. It means, I don't know, it's so overwhelming. You know, I don't usually tend to look at the totality of what I'm doing. I just I'm always looking towards the next thing and the next moment and the next piece of music. And somehow it really brings all that to the forefront.
Yeah.
It's a bit overwhelming. It fills me with a lot of pride and joy that I've been able to, sustain a career in one of the most difficult industries that there is. Especially once you get to the point where you're on the wrong side of 25 and, you know, coming from a marginalized genre of music in underground house to proper house to dance pop to whatever, all of these various incarnations of what this music genre is, and living through all of that, you know, also just being a woman, a Black woman, all the things, ticking all the boxes of, you know, what's not considered to be commercially viable and still being able to sustain a career is a true testament to doing things in your own way and on your own terms, and having an amazing support system and an amazing fan base out there, because that really has been the magic that's kept it all together.
How have you done things your own way on your own terms in an industry where they like to dictate what you look like, what you sound like, how you present yourself, what your next single is going to be when it's so dictatorial? How have you managed to swerve around that and remain true to yourself?
I think because out the gate with my very first album with Situation Critical, with Blue Notes from the Basement back in 1990, I think because I came into this industry in a genre that was still growing and evolving. I started with house music when it was still in its infancy. We were inadvertently writing the template of what dance music has now become. And I think there is a bit of an advantage to having been in that moment, because it wasn't so clearly defined and you could define yourself in that way. And I was also, the opportunity presented itself that I ended up on a major label. So there's a certain level of prestige and notoriety and respectability that comes with being signed to a major label in that way and releasing 2 albums with a major. So that affords you real budgets in order to build a real fan base tuned into who you really are. So I was with a group of people, from A&Rs to managers to, you know, everyone that was moving my chain forward, that were all really into what underground house music was and elevating that platform, and kind of really, again, we were creating our own templates. So no one needed to dictate what we needed to do, because we were all experimenting and evolving with the genre as it was happening. And then once you do that and you set the precedent and you have that lineage and you have those hits under your belt, then what can they say going forward?
Right. Right.
I'm shaking my head because I concur with everything that you're saying, and I have had exactly the same experience. So I love it. And so my question would be is, how do you feel that it has gotten any easier being in the industry?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay.
There's never anything is never any easier in this business. Like, forget about it.
Especially in this genre.
Especially in this genre, because this thing is like a moving target over here. You know what I mean? This business is always evolving, growing. It's become a corporate, you know, field day.
Yes.
Like any industry that was making $5, the corporations swept in and took over and have created platforms for those that they deem commercially viable in that way, and kind of dialed everything down and made it easily digestible for the masses, while completely eliminating and further marginalizing, you know, the true roots and history of what the genre is about. But that is pretty much what happens in any industry where there's $5 to be made.
Yeah.
So when you understand that this is business and remove the emotional component out of it, then you understand what is happening, and you have to make choices as to how you're going to function in that, or if you're going to function in that, because maybe you don't have a taste for that. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. So you need to come to the table understanding, how do I fit into what the framework of this music industry is now?
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, at the time that we went completely independent, I had those hit records under my belt, classic hits. I had already set the tone for who I was and what I was about as an artist, and I had the receipts to back it up.
Right.
Yes.
So,
yes. Well put.
So, you know, so I came into it in a position of power as opposed to a position of subordinate. And then because I was a songwriter and because I'd had those hits, I was able to have also the very important part of the income. You have to have the financial part of it, the capital, to be able to put yourself out there and sustain that.
Yeah.
And that can be really tricky for a lot of artists. I think it's a careful balance of knowing and understanding how to use technology as it's evolving, because technology will afford you some things to cut back on, where you can cut corners in some ways on all of the financial investment that you have to make. But you have to come into it really being prepared to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Were you always this smart? Or is this learned information? Because you sound like an economics major right now.
I get that a lot. But
do you get that a lot?
It's a combination of a lot of different things, having lived these experiences through the years and learned the hard way in some things. And then also having a really great team that I work with my managers, with fellow artists that I've worked with in various aspects of the industry. And you learn things as you go. I mean, that's also the benefit of having done it so long, is that you can use those tools and those resources and those relationships that you've garnered over the years to keep pushing you forward.
So what wisdom do you give to young artists? Everybody wants to be famous. We live in a celebrity obsessed world with social media. You see so many young people trying to become pop stars. They're trying to break into the music industry. And you've just given us a crash course on how you've lasted 30 years. What do you say to the young artists who may be watching this right now?
Well, you know, I applaud the young artists that are brave enough to step out there in this Cuisinart
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because this thing will eat you alive and, you know, leave you there, you know, breathing heavy on the floor, like, and you're done.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Spit you
So
out.
I applaud these young artists for embracing what they have, coming, you know, to know themselves and know what they offer the world. They are in charge in a way that many artists were never empowered before them, because there are so many tools with you know, with the Internet of Things, and how they can create their own fan base, how they can connect with their fans more directly, um, how they can create content, whether it's music, whether it's, you know, products, whether it's videos or whatever. They can create content at a level that you never had before.
Yeah.
And that's what gave the labels all the power, because
Yeah.
they held the purse strings in order to produce these things.
Yeah.
So these kids are empowered in a way that we never were, for our generation and generations before. And so I applaud them for stepping into the fray and saying, this is who I am, and this is what I'm presenting, and utilizing the tools and the resources that are available to them to push that forward. So kudos to them. I would tell them to definitely take the time also, while you're so concerned with being famous and all the trappings that go along with that, is to get into the business of music.
Yeah.
Because the business of music is what's going to do you in.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it
you
is
need
called
to
show business.
It is a business, and you need to
Yes.
understand what the implications are for everything that you do when someone does come knocking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know, understand that every little thing counts when it counts, because you can go forward and do something and it's like, oh, this is kind of a whole lot of nothing. I don't need to worry about the details with this. But suddenly, any little seed you plant, any little, like the size of a grain of salt, can suddenly become a thing.
Yeah.
That's the magic
Right.
of this industry, is that it's so crazy and wild and evolving that an absolute nothing burger suddenly becomes like an everything. And now the details count.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So there you go.
Yes. Well, I want to jump into one aspect of our conversation for your consideration, the Grammys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was pretty crazy that, you know,
Yeah.
that whole week was pretty crazy for me, because as I was telling Shaun before we went on, is that you know, we submitted these certain songs to the dance category. It was like 5 of them, something like that. And when it came time to vote, I went looking for them in the dance category. I didn't even think about it. I just went straight to the dance category, because, you know, you can only vote in certain categories where your area of expertise is. And then there's like the big 4 or 5, or whatever they call them, the big 4. And that's like, you know, all the pop huge categories or whatever, and everybody can vote on that. And so I went looking in the dance category, and I saw 2 out of 5, and I was like, where'd the other songs go? Like they didn't accept it. Like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Like, how does that happen? You know what I mean? So, and then a couple of days went by, and I just kind of was like, well, let me start voting on like in the general field.
Yeah. And
I'd started scrolling, and I'm like, just randomly see Miracle, Ultra Naté, and I'm like, what? What is happening here? You know what I mean? So it really threw me off, because I just randomly like clicked on to start voting in the way that the voting process happens. And I wasn't even looking for anything. I was just kind of glancing over like who's submitted what, and what's for consideration. What am I voting for? Like, what am I feeling? What's really great? What was really well produced? And I think it was like, you know, the category I was in, like maybe best pop solo performance or something like that. And to stumble across my own work in that category, it really threw me completely out the window.
Yes.
Well deserved.
It happened, you know, over and over again in the course of the week. Like I finally stumbled across, you know, Fun was in Song of the Year, and You're Free with Icona Pop. That collaboration was in Best Pop Group Performance. And I was like, okay, what is happening here? What is going on?
Why that is happening? What is going on in your head?
It was crazy. And then of course, you know, the Ultra album was in, you know, is for best dance album
Yes.
consideration, and Survivor and Happy Feeling for best dance song consideration. Now, we never know where any of this is going to go from here.
That's right.
If any of that ends up in a true nomination, and God forbid, like a Grammy at the end of the day, we don't know. But to be on that list is, distilled down from a whole host of submissions across the board. And these songs are the ones that make it to even be considered Grammy worthy.
Yes.
For the voting body to choose from. So to make it to that list is still like a huge honor, especially, for songs that were created in like some of the craziest moments in my life during the pandemic lockdown, So it was a very emotional moment for me.
I will cut a bitch if this doesn't turn into a nomination for you. I can tell you that right now. And I also, you're talking about the time making the Ultra album, and I want to quote you here. You said this Ultra album, unlike any other, was the most cathartic and anchoring experience. Pandemic, isolation, and grief over the loss of many friends unraveled the protective walls I had built around myself. Stripped bare emotionally, confused, and weary of the world, I needed to remind myself every day who I was at my core. That's heavy. That's a heavy time. What was this like for you? What happened? How did you get out of it and create such a positive sounding album?
It was kind of like an avalanche of emotions, continually. And I really did feel like I was drowning in it. And there were times that I would just look in my mirror every morning when I would get up and just be like, I just feel like I was not connecting with myself. I felt out of body, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And it was because I was really so stricken with way too many negative emotions at once. Losing friends left, right, and center. And as soon as I would hear about one, there would be another one a week or so later that was sick, that was suddenly on a ventilator, that was suddenly gone. Yeah. And there was just no time to process the grief. It was just grief upon grief upon grief. Yeah. And I'm, obviously no one has ever really had that experience in our lives, in the experience, in the life that we're living. Like, that's never been our experience. So
exactly,
it was a lot to digest. Like, they were just gone in that moment so quickly. And then there's a whole pandemic going on, and there's disinformation every single day, and there's fighting online everywhere. People are embattled, and then we've got this psycho president at the same time. Yeah. Every day I've got to hear that fucking voice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I was just like, I cannot, you know what I mean? It was enough to just make you want to jump off the balcony. Yeah. And, so I was struggling with all of the things, and also trying to make sure my kid was okay. He's the center of my universe, and like, I'm struggling through all of this. So he's obviously struggling through a lot as well, because he's never been in a situation like this. He's isolated from his friends. School is all disrupted, and he's online with school and struggling through that. He's a very social person, so that's how he learns really well, and through interaction and experience. And that isolated learning experience is not his wheelhouse. So trying to keep him on point academically, but not being too hard about that, because like, we're all tripping out here. So I can't expect like this kid to process all that and just be okay. And like, okay, let me just get on with this trigonometry assignment. Like, to hell with that. The world is ending. We're in a full apocalypse. You know what I mean? So it was just like so many things going on. And, I was having relationship issues. That was up one minute and down the next, and working through like all of its history and madness. And it was just too many damn things at once. And that was how I was dealing every single day. So writing these songs gave me, like I said, the anchor that I needed, because I had, I'm very much that kind of person where things can be spiraling out. I'm going to look towards what I can control. I'm going to control what I can control, in all of this messiness? Well, the one thing I can control is my work output. And so because I have my whole setup here in my house, I could every day get up and start working on songs and pick up the grain from where I left off last night when I went to bed.
Perfect.
And so it did give me that sense of purpose every day to work through this music, to work through these ideas, to get ideas laid down, to demo up my songs, to get the production, going, and have the boxes to tick off every day. Like, this is your process. You know what I mean? So it was that. And I went back to school online as well. I took a course at MIT online to discuss emerging technologies that were going to be disruptive in our future, which I felt was really important as an artist, as a business, as my own label. I need to understand like how things are moving, where things are going, and how I can make these things work for me. So I went back to school for a year to feed my brain. Wow. And having that constant, you got reading to do, you got quizzes to do, you've got tests coming up, and I'm very type A. So like, I've got to score well.
I was going to say, you sound so focused, type A.
I got to score well. So I'm like, listen, I got to get these citations right. Okay. You know what I mean? So I'm very like that. So it's like, I got to get an A, like a B, unacceptable. So yeah, that was my life, and it kept me together.
I just want to jump in really quick and say I'm cognizant of the time. Our producer will kill us if we go over too much. He's like a murderous man. Adam,
I wanted to ask.
Let's do a question each.
Yeah, well, I think now that we know what the process was, what's your favorite pick on the album?
Girl, now I can't even.
Your babies.
They're my babies. Exactly. It's so different. But you know what? I can say it was really gratifying to be back in the process with my home team, with my fam that I know and love and have worked with for years, like Ted Patterson, Lem Springsteen, Quentin Harris. But it was also really great to work with the new and younger talent, like Funk Cartel, Blue Lab Flows, folks that I hadn't worked with before, Heinrich. They kept, things were edgy and experimental and cool to like just dive into and not care like what people were going to think afterwards or what charts were doing. That was the main goal. And I think we really met that. That's why I say this album is the most intimate.
Okay. All right.
Earlier, when you were talking about COVID and people going to the hospital, suddenly they're in a ventilator, suddenly they're gone. It took me back to when AIDS was prevalent in the epidemic there. And I think about the queer community, and I know that the LGBT people, Q people, are an integral part of your fan base. And I wonder if you could speak to that and the meaning of that for you.
Yeah, I mean, that goes without saying, really. This house was built on the LGBTQ community. I mean, seriously, from the inception in the early underground days, dance music, underground house music, all of that came from that community, the marginalized, again, a marginalized community. And we have grown together. We have a kind of symbiotic relationship. I rely a lot on their love universally, and somehow what my speak feeds their souls, and they feel connected and they feel seen through me, and it is definitely symbiotic in that way, and I feel the same way because of them. And so from the very first record, that relationship has been engraved in stone, and pretty much probably will always be.
You're a joy.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on today. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you. You have no idea. When I saw your Grammy for consideration, I was beyond excited for you, and I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you, my loves. I appreciate it.
I will see you at the next show.
You got it.
Absolutely.
And just DM me if you don't get a Grammy nom.
We'll send the henchmen in. Yes, I'll send you in.
I got friends.
You're like, Shaun.
Ultra Naté, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. So much. I appreciate it. Love you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. That was great.
That was great.
You're wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my babes.
Have a great day.
Oh, I can't get
She doesn't want to leave.
There we go. There we go. All right.
Yeah.
She's wonderful. Very cool lady. Very cool lady.
Reminded earlier today that I interviewed her once on my Proud FM show way back in the day, and she was just as effervescent and smart and joyful, and she deserves all the success. 30 years.
Absolutely.
30 years.
Absolutely.
Well, Simone, what are you doing right now?
Talking to your handsome guy on
talking to this jackass on Zoom.
Okay, all right, good. I'm not touching that. You're too
I just want everyone to know that last Friday was Simone's birthday, and we went out to dinner with a group of people, and I waddled out of there. I have never Simone Denny. She organized it all, ordered all the food. I thought at the pasta part we were done. And I was so full. And I went out for a little break.
Good, we're done, right?
Back. It was like 5 Christmas dinners. It was 5 Christmas dinners. Did you have a good time?
I did. You know, my gift is getting to see people, because I don't get to see everyone all the time. And I think a lot of people don't really realize that. It's like you're on the move and you're living your life. And in this industry, you got to go. And most of the times I'm away. So when I get a moment to just be in the room, and for me, it's looking around and seeing people laughing and smiling. And that's what does it for me. So that was it.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, like and subscribe on YouTube here.
YouTube, yeah.
What else? Tell your friends, family, your exes, your arch enemies, people you love and the people you hate to join us all the time here on Simone and Shaun. We love you for watching. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye.